I see a lot of people have asked how it breathes. They don't understand because it is a different type of frame. It's not the box frame. So how does the moisture come up from the bees and go over to the condenser? How does it do that? And I thought about how to explain it, but then I thought this would be better. As you can see, it doesn't fit together tight as you think. You can really zoom in and start to see all the area that the bees breathe with this hive. Now, as they start to build from the top down, somehow these start to get moved because the bees want it like that. And now, all of a sudden, one of the spots is big enough that the bees come out and patrol. You'll see them in the grooves here, like little soldiers lined up. And you can almost tell when you open the door how many frames have bees on it, because those are the frames that are covered, because they're protecting the colony through covering the entire surface of where they are. Of course, in here is either the feeder when you're feeding them. When they're brand new, they go through the hole right there to feed, right on the other side of this frame. But you will end up filling that with sawdust. Right? Not so much pushed against this, but you know, I'm sure even if you left it pushed against it, it'll settle. You do have to watch for little cracks. You don't want it up like this. You can pull it down. You can put beeswax in between it if you've got gaps. Seal it up nice. Now the other draft protection is right here. As you see, it flushes out over here. But it's off here. This lid goes right over here. Right there. So this touches that. And that starts the condenser as soon as it's over the bee stop. It's no longer being heated from below. And it comes over. It runs up because this is shaped like a chimney. Yeah, so when it's closed, it's like a chimney. And you can see how close you are right here. Make your adjustments when you're building. I hope that answers how the moisture gets up. Now you may say, condenser, how does that work? Well, it's a wood plate. With a burlap sack of wood chips. But the condenser is on the outside of the hive. Yeah, in that little space, you put some burlap, and you put this together, and you wick that hole up. And then you put the burlap as tight as you can down here so that you have insulation strips all the way down. And you fill it up for the winter. You can half fill it and feed with a feeder, but the moisture collects on this 30-degree plate. And it runs out and not inside the hive. Now, here's the wood chips. Of course, you do a better job than I am sticking it in the model here. And you have a condenser. And the heat energy stays on this side of the bee stop, and the moisture gets collected on that side where there's no heat energy. It then drops in temperature the minute it goes over. And then the cooler air does drift along the side, back down into holes at the bottom. Most of it, some of it, the moisture comes out here. I don't ever see drips in the winter or anything, but you can see the difference in the hive, that it's a very, very dry situation. Now for the winter, when they squeeze up and they're in a big ball, and the first half dozen frames pushed up against is a huge reservoir of insulation that retains the heat, and only the heat that makes it through them big fat frames, and how much air they let out that they want. It retains heat and keeps them very dry. They seem to winter just fine. I don't have any in Maine yet. This winter there will be results from the northern states of the U.S. All right. Happy beekeeping. So we have a frame hanger, because you will have long comb hanging off. And so the hive pull to this ant-proof cover is 2 feet. So because the comb's 2 feet and it's hung above it, it won't touch the ground. And the oak should be enough to take 50, 60 pounds, so you shouldn't have a problem. You could put 2 up. It does have 2. Here we start at the bottom for inspections. This is how you're able to view the colony on a daily basis without bothering them. Unless your colony is all the way down to the bottom, then you probably should harvest a frame. One of them should be good enough to take. And so you would take one out and take the spare one and put it in, trying to keep the bottom one empty. So you're forced to take a honey frame out. That's how it goes. So in the lid, or where you put in the lid is where the frame hangers get stored. In the spare frame, and these are the wax clips if you want to clip a piece of wax to the frame. If you use the spare frame, you'll need the hook to get it out because it has a loop. So you got a little tool. You wanted to pull on one of these. That's what you leave in the cover. And none of it gets in the way of closing. Comb 1, comb 2, comb 3, comb 4, comb 5. And there's the hole. So the entrance is right at the end of 5. So you would think the bees could make 5 comb and then they're even with the entrance. But what happens is they make their comb this way in the hive. So they'll actually have 6, 7, and 8 started before 5 even gets close to the hole. Now, once you've got 2/3 of this unit full of comb and bees, that's when I start weaning them off and making this real tiny, enough for 1 bee. And I teach them to use the bottom entrance. They're much happier with the bottom entrance. It's got a double protection. They can go up in the side over here and in by going in. It's kind of like a robbing screen. But if it's bumper to bumper bees, if you take one side off, then like on this model, you'll see the opening. See? That's where the bees, so you can take 1 or 2 off. And that's where your opening ends up being after the colony has grown past that size. Whereas that side, they're using the side. As you can see there, I think they 6 comb, and you can see how tall the 6th one is. And so the brood's nest that starts out on the top, as you can see from the picture, I've made a mock-up. I wanted to show you how big the comb gets. That's on the first one, 24 inches long. Plus there's your square frame lodge up there, a large square frame for size reference. But more important is where the brood's nest starts out and stays. It stays up there because I believe now it's warm and dry. And it stays up there even when the hive is completely full. The brood don't move down. So what does that mean? That means inside the hive, you've now set up a unidirection where the brood are up top and the entrance is either on the lower side or the very bottom, depending on how full the hive is. The incoming and outgoing of the hive don't cut through the brood's nest anymore. The brood's nest stays out of the direction of the daily traffic flow with all the contaminants. All the contamination does not get directly dragged through the brood's nest. And that's why I think this is a healthier colony. The second thing that has happened is because the brood's nest is up top, like in our mock here, there is a constant outgoing traffic of age of bees. So now there is even a unidirectional flow of bees coming out of the brood chamber towards where they're going to end up finally going to work as foragers. So there really isn't a flow of traffic upwards. It's all out and down. So the foragers come in and deal with the honeycomb down the bottom, and the brood are being born and moving out as their job description flows until they become guards and foragers on the outer shell of the colony. That's what I believe has quieted down this and gave it the personality change, is because they are able to stand and work, and they're not running all over the place because there's an incoming flow of traffic while they're trying to take care of the brood. It's a very, very quiet situation, an actual personality change in the bees.